Come on over.
Great.
That's going to be really cool, man. Looking forward to getting some questions from the chat. So, I remember, Luke, the first time that we spoke during that X Spaces, you mentioned that, you've got a front row seat in the Canton Foundation, and you can see, what's going on with future governance requirements. So how does being a member of the Canton Foundation give you that insight into how governance could potentially change over time?
Yeah, so we started this company basically right at the end of February, and we're backed by Ergonia, who's a Cumberland DRW entity. Cumberland is, of course, a very big early investor, and in Canton Network, they've been basically Genesis block participants, and so their expertise in how to navigate Canton and who's who in the space helped us a lot in the beginning. We then got Canton Foundation membership for ourselves, which gets us. There are a number of committees that the Canton Foundation runs. I think the foundation was set up last year, right? There's stewards of the governance of the network. There's things like the tokenomics committee that review all of the CIP changes, which can be voting to add certain entities as super validators, changing the rules, like adding locking requirements, like CIP 105 and 116. There's a variety of different, policies that they're reviewing on a weekly basis. There's accountability committees on, keeping participants in line with those rules, and kind of the executive branch, if you will. And so as a member of the foundation, you can be part of all of those committees. As active as you want, you can sit in on the meetings, you can, do very proactive work. So when you're part of the working groups that happen every week, you get to hear what's kind of coming, but then you also get to participate and help kind of craft where it's going. This was a pretty big input to why we decided quickly to build this marketplace back in, really it was about end of March, where we said, yes, we're going to do this, because featured app locking wasn't live yet, and CIP 116 was being discussed. There was a full draft, but it was moving towards it's going to pass, and it ended up passing in the middle of May. But before it passed, and I mean, this was public, right? It's not that this was a private conversation, but sitting in on these meetings, you got a very good sense that, this was a when, not if. And it became very clear that this capital need was going to arise in the future app, and there just wasn't this marketplace to connect everybody. So that's the example of, how it's worked, to be this close and connected to the network at the higher level to date. And now it's, I'm involved with featured app testing and the queue. There's a whole bunch of things, but it is really, Canton's a blockchain that's growing all the time, right? And it's just great to know kind of where the puck is going, so we can craft our next kind of growth plan as well.
100%. And it's good to be, with a seat at the table and be early. So let's talk a little bit about the roadmap. So, Luke, my understanding is that you're currently in phase one. What's the most exciting change that users will see when you transition to phase two?
Yeah, so I would categorize phase one as we scoped to what was needed for June 19th, which was the deadline for featured apps, because they needed to find locks. Otherwise, they're going to be demoted. And that's not good for the network, right? So we solved that problem. And we made it institutional only because it was the fastest way to get there, and we had the capital and network to do it like that. Phase two, but if you zoom out and think, yes, this is a featured app value, from a lot of people in DeFi, they think about it like it's a yield source. So for the institutions who are supplying capital, they're earning, 5% gross of something, in the 4% range on CC. It's a great yield source for them. Phase two is, how can other people participate in that yield source? So I'm not an institution. I don't have 5 million coins. I don't have 100 million coins, but I still would love yield on my CC. How can we build that product that lets wider, basically almost permissionless participation in part of that yield, right? So same source, FAs are locking. We know that's where they're paying the yield, and that's sort of structural, which is a great thing to participate, right? To deploy money into. But we're going to add to the we're going to widen the breadth on who could participate.
Got it. Okay. So does that have to do with the on-chain DAML execution engine? And when do you expect that to fully go live? And what manual processes will disappear?
It's different. The one I just mentioned is the one I think all the people listening would be excited about, which is I can click a button in my wallet and put Canton coin in a Cashen vault and get some yield. What you mentioned is also happening. Um, it's a little bit more of an internal efficiency phase, not necessarily a new product. This is how do we take so right now they pushed locking out a month after it was approved, so that was the June 19th. There's a lot of on-chain work being done to actually properly lock Canton coin into DAML templates. It's not a Cashen project or a Cashen thing. This is a Canton network. They call it Splice, which is the code that is the blockchain. So right now there's a method to lock tokens. You put them in a separate wallet, and you report it to the foundation and they track it. But we're actually going to build locking templates on chain. Like the Splice team is doing that. We're part of the project from a design and implementation input perspective. We will use that on chain template, right? Our deals would say once it's done, lock these tokens, right? And so some of the nuances of how those lock are represented on chain will change. So there's an internal, project on the engineering side to do that, and that will automate a ton of this stuff. It's not a very, very manual process. It doesn't take a ton of time, but it will literally go to fully automated, which will just let this marketplace kind of run on its own. We know that's happening. That will the target for everybody on the DA and Canton side is the end of the year. That's why we're moving towards okay, we can build on top of this. The marketplace will become automated relatively soon. Let's now take in outside capital from the entire ecosystem and give them the ability to get yield on their Canton coin.
Got it. So, the idea of taking in capital from the ecosystem, that makes me think lending, right? So, have you mentioned that lending could be on the roadmap? Is there a timeline for when that might become more of a focus?
Um, it could be. So I'm thinking about the next evolution roadmap is yield sources. That would be the headline. So and yield sources available to let's say all. Um,
Right, right.
so Canton coin yield source. We can, these will be vaults. This will look like, Ethereum and Solana vaults for the most. You'll deposit CC, you'll get some cash and CC token back, or you'll deposit, let's say USDC, you'll get cash and USDC back. Where you generate the yield can be lending. So yes, it will be definitely for the Canton coin delegated locks. So and each one of these strategies will carry a different deployment mandate or risk profile, and it'll be very transparent and disclosed. So you might have the Cashen stablecoin lending vault. We might have the Cashen stablecoin trading strategy vault, right? So what there's you can add as many puzzle pieces to the infrastructure as you want, depending on what type of risk people want to take.
Makes a lot of sense. And I just want to let you know, Luke, we just passed above 100 people watching our conversation here live. So
Great.
between YouTube and X, that's pretty cool. So, let's talk a little bit about RWAs. So as you look at tokenized real world assets, which specific asset class are you most excited to see on the Canton network? And also most excited to, maybe integrate into Cash?
Yeah, I mean the one that gets the most headlines is certainly the U.S. Treasury space. It's with DTCC and Broadridge and TradeWeb doing the repo trades. And why it gets the most attention is because it's the biggest market in the world. So I think that the thing I take away from listening to that is just you know this amount of assets that with the counterparties involved is a trust. People are trusting the rails of Canton to do these type of asset transfers. So you can't ignore bonds or credit instruments, government, the U.S. Treasuries, maybe other European government, all sorts of the bond universe. I know of groups building corporate bonds, right? So Microsoft bonds and Apple bonds that you could trade on Canton. Um, the other one, of course, is equities, and a lot of people trade tokenized equities. Where Canton's different, and the tokenization specifically on Canton is different, is there's a really big nuance on what is a tokenized equity. Like, there's a variety of different ways you can have equity perps, like what exists on Hyperliquid, right? Those are exposure to the price of SpaceX stock. It's not, you can't go to Hyperliquid and say, I bought this perp, so actually give me my share now and put it in my Fidelity account, right? It's not ownership, it's just a price derivative. There are examples where, you own another entity that owns the shares, right? So there's a lot of uh, work and nuance being done to perfecting like the legal ownership of the tokenized actual representation, and that's happening at the biggest scale on Canton. So when that happens, there's really no difference between a tokenized Canton equity and one in your Fidelity account. And that is really cool because it's actual ownership representation, not some derived ownership where if you needed to go get it because you were a lender of it, right? Or you needed to claim it from a bankruptcy. You need to perfect that stream. So I'm very interested in the equity side because a lot of new participants in the equity space over the last 10 years, which I think is awesome. There's also then, if you go down, well, even more involved in that, and I've talked to a number of people about doing this idea, super early stage, but pre-IPO, so private equity deals. How can we, right now, the venture funds can get involved in things like SpaceX pre-IPO or the Boring Company or, other things people know are private companies, and they certainly have big, big private investors. But if you could tokenize those and give access to them, now people can start to, people being the masses on Canton, like could participate in it. That's really cool because, um, you know, there's just been a big shift in when things IPO. And we can go down that rabbit hole for a long time, but giving private equity access is really, really cool to me.
Yeah, I think that that's an amazing opportunity. And so I see what Mike has been posting in the chat here, that it looks like there are a couple of solid questions from everyone on X. And Mike, I'm curious, do you want to hop in and maybe see if we can get one of the questions asked here? So here we go. James Cena from YouTube. He's saying, when are we going to see a coin? When coin for Cashen? What do you think, Luke?
When do they want the coin?
I think they probably won it yesterday, you know?
Yeah, we're doing listen, we're, token issuance is, you have to do it right. You have to set up a bunch of legal stuff to do it correctly. The vault that I talked about on the Canton Coin vault side, for the product, the yield product, is also involves token issuance. So, sort of a prerequisite, or at least they go together to setting the legal groundwork to, are we ready to properly issue a Cashen token? So there's definitely a prerequisite book of work, before I could answer that question. Then there's the question of, what should it do? What are the tokenomics, like? And I mean, we like to think of ourselves, long-term participants in the Canton network. Like, we're definitely not trying to launch a meme coin of sorts. So I wanted to do something interesting, give people utility. Examples of that could be, the fee stream revenue from the Cashen platform could all feed to the token, right? That's a common one. You could do that through buybacks or whatever. So just hammering out what the best way, what the best use of the token is also has to be discussed. I haven't figured out exactly what that'll be, but there's also just, the buzz and the demand and, the right moment, but it'll come.
I'm sure it will, and looking forward to it when it does come. Now, I want to ask you about, what. Let's talk a little bit more about the deep dive on the different phases that you're building out. So, what do you think is something that you're building today that will become the industry standard on the Canton network for the network over the next several years? What's something that's being built today that will be or already is the industry standard?
Um, hmm, that's a good question. I want to think for a second. Probably these, we're probably just our participation so in the on-chain locking template itself. That we were leaning on the lock tokens, but that splice code that the network is putting in place, like I wrote the requirements doc for it, and then it gets put up to review, and we're tweaking it. But locking on Canton for governance reasons, with third party beneficiaries, I think is um, a pretty powerful tool that could be used beyond just CIP 116 and 105. And we're building it intentionally as a building block that can be used for, imagine leveraging or using lock tokens as collateral. So building the instrument of what the lock actually is, and who are the holders, beneficiaries, the rights to unlock and substitute, all those mechanisms being programmatic will allow that to become an actual asset. And if why I think that's for this network and why it becomes the industry standard is 50% of the Canton coin in float is locked for governance. We're talking about
Hmm.
half of Canton coin in existence is in this lock form. And once these templates are done, and DAML templates are done, those tokens now can actually get some utility that's deterministic. So you could really think about what you could do with half of the float that's locked, right? And that's getting that right really, I think, becomes you still lock in the long term vision and alignment where people have to put it up, but then they can still, right, if you can still use it as an asset, it's not just dead kind of, it's not burned, right? It's totally different. It's locked, it's not burned. So to split that up correctly and give it utility again because you built the right programmatic templates, I think will be the biggest outcome here.